Mic check. Nandhini. Nandhini, mic check. Nandhini.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
The point is, every time I'm opening this, it goes to the default mic when I disconnect. The default mic is not getting recognized here.
And the second point, it went out of my mind. What were you talking about?
You're talking to somebody whose memory is really bad after being a chess player. Let me think. What we were talking about, I forgot the topic.
Okay, so welcome to the podcast, Nandhini. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So I will just introduce our guest for today. So Nandhini is a Goa women's state champion, and she's a chess trainer by profession. Besides being a trainer, she's also a FIDE Arbiter, and she has a YouTube and a Twitch channel. She has her own two channels. One is a Chesspod with a lot of content on chess, and the other channel is her own channel where she talks about personality development and growth. So welcome to my channel this time.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here, to be honest. Very thrilled.
So what are your expectations from this podcast?
Nothing. I mean, just want to have a good time. We both are genuine, and maybe other people see how genuine we are, have fun with us, and go along life.
Also, before I start this, I also want to appreciate you for the talks that you are doing on your channel, because I've heard some of them and they are really very good. So keep it up. And
Thank you.
And that's why I wanted to get you on this channel, because I don't have a lot of people who I can talk to about growth. Like, not a lot of people are completely focused on that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's actually nice to actually see you, into this field, because if I'm not wrong, I've known you for so many years, and then I think a couple of years back we did have an interaction online, and you did not seem to be the person you are right now. So there's been a lot of difference.
Yeah, at that
Nice to see that.
Yeah, at that time I was more of a rebel sort of. I don't know. I was a kind of person who was chasing a lot of things. I was like chasing thrill in life and adventure. And that's why I was like, I don't want to do the normal stuff. And that's why I became sort of rude, and I could not understand empathy much during that time. And then I got into growth, and it really grounded me. Also, I have like two girl best friends who have really, really grounded me with that. So that was a whole shift completely happened.
Yeah, but do not give up the rebel part. I believe all of us should still remain rebels.
Yeah, obviously that is already there, but I'm trying to do it in a much more kinder way and much more I don't want to be rude to anyone,
Got it.
So yeah. Anyways, I want to dive very, very deep into this. So I will start by asking you, how was Nandhini as a child?
As a child,
what was her personality?
She was very timid, very shy. She was very reserved.
Reserved as in?
I did not speak much, but I loved reading. I loved studying. I loved art. So I would spend time doing things that I liked, but I was not very good with people, kind of thing, And it remained that way for a long time till I even reached college. Teachers would literally tell my mom, when the result sheets are given. I forgot what they're called now. It's been too long.
Report cards.
Report cards. Yeah. So the report card day, they would say she's really good, she's so obedient. Yeah, I've always been disciplined, always been, a systematic person. But she doesn't speak. So that was a complaint. She doesn't speak, she doesn't talk in class, she doesn't ask questions. Yeah. I was that kind of person, which I'm trying to improve.
Mine was completely on the opposite side. I was speaking too much. So that was every time. Anish is a brilliant kid. Anish is so intelligent, but he just, has to control his tongue. So yeah, that is what used to happen. Any other things?
Yeah, I was. I was. I feel, as I mentioned, I was shy. I was kind of, let's say, scared, and okay, having a younger brother, after a certain age, as a kid, I'm not saying as a kid, but I worried about him a lot. And a thing happened. Do you have a sibling? I don't remember you having one. Yeah. So, as an elder sibling, I think when you're the older sibling, what really happens is a lot of times your younger sibling is everything to you. For some reason, you're not their mother, you're not their father, but they just happen to be everything. And yeah, I gave him a lot of importance in my life till now. But now that's changing. Now I'm focusing on myself.
That's changing.
Yeah, I mean, I should be my prime focus, right?
Yes, definitely.
So, yeah, that's changing now.
I love that. And like, how did chess enter your life?
Chess, basically, my
And
dad.
when did it enter?
My dad introduced my brother and I to chess together. So I think I was about 8 years old, 8.5, whatever, 8 years old. And my brother was like 6.5, 6.5 years old. So we started learning together. My dad introduced it to us. He kind of always was passionate for the game. So it was like, there's another reason I can tell you why he introduced us to chess. One reason is he's passionate. He liked the game a lot. I don't doubt that. I'm sure he did. But he's a very cautious person. He must have thought that my kids learn to play chess. They won't get hurt. They don't need to go anywhere. They can sit, without hurting themselves and play a game. Become sporty. So that's one other reason which I realized later on in life, considering how I understood him to be as a person. So then I realized, oh, this is why he must have introduced us to chess.
That's nice. And what was your learning from chess so far? Like,
There's so much. Yeah, you were saying something?
No, continue.
In chess, right? If I have to connect it, there's
definitely.
so much you can learn. I mean, you know it yourself. You have learned
Yes,
a lot.
definitely.
But for me, like at this stage, in the past few years, if I'm going to consider the past few years, my main learning is to take risks in life. If you don't take the risk, you're not going to bear any fruit, right? You need to take risks. Now, again, you know about that because of the shares and everything.
Yeah.
But in general, taking risks, because as you said, how was I as a kid? As a kid, I was a person who would never take risks. I was like always taking care, always like I'm super cautious. Like maybe it's hereditary, genetics, but whatever it is. So taking risk was never on the cards. So that has slowly changed, and like I got in a relationship with Anurag, that was also taking a risk. Like I took the risk for the first time in my life in that way. I'm not kidding. I said, let me take the risk. It's fine. If it works, it works. Doesn't work, it doesn't work. Before that, it was like if I get into a relationship, it should work. 100% it should work. So I would not get into a relationship. You get the point. So I think taking that risk is really important, and you learn that when you play the game. You need to take risks, otherwise you cannot win. That's just one basic learning, but for me, lately, in the past few years, that has really helped me. So yeah, that's one thing that's helped me lately. But other than that, patience, kindness is one thing which I will mention. Kindness is something. For example, when I see two players playing, okay, and let's say we both are playing. We both are players anyway. Let's say that you're
You play also a lot.
yeah. Let's say that you're winning against me, okay? I have just a king
Never
left. Okay, hypothetically, imagine. It won't happen in this lifetime, but imagine. Okay, just imagine that there are two players playing, and let's say you and me, and you have, let us say, 3 pawns, okay, and a king, and I have just a king. So you can basically queen the 3 pawns and checkmate me, or you can queen 1 pawn and checkmate me, right? Now, for me, the nature of the player, the characteristic of the player shows a lot with the way you play the game, because your nature and your game are very well connected to a huge extent. There are a lot of times I see players making 3 queens and trying to checkmate the opponent to show off. I don't like that. Personally, I don't like that. For me, it shows in real life it was not just what you would have done to somebody, it kind of shows that. So even when I'm teaching in students, and I'll always tell them, you have 1 queen, just do it. You don't need to embarrass your opponent, right? You're winning your game already. You don't need to embarrass your opponent and win the game. Just be happy for yourself. A person who scores 3 queens is not doing it because they're happy. They don't need to embarrass their opponent most of the times. So, so those kind of things you learn a lot. Somebody who has been 3, 4 queens, they don't understand that point of time. But as they grow older, some of them I hope have understood, it's not the right thing to do. It's not nice. Imagine yourself, the opponent is, it's not, because chess is not just a game of two players. There's so many people watching. People don't realize that. If it's just you and me playing in a checkmating, it doesn't make a difference. But there's a huge crowd, there are 10, 20 people watching, and then you're going to checkmate me that way, and then I feel embarrassed. I'm just saying, it's not, it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and then the other person also, if that person is a person who will fight, for a stalemate or something like that, that person will keep playing. That person will not resign.
Exactly, will not resign.
It's humiliating for the other person.
It is humiliating, yeah, exactly. And even if they are not a person who will play till checkmate, sometimes you're just frustrated inside and you just play it out. It has happened with me. I usually just resign. I do not really go till there. But there are times when I'm frustrated with the opponent has behaved in a certain way, and I'm just like, I'll sit on the board. I don't care. Let them checkmate me. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to simply resign because it's like giving up, right? So there are times. So, these small things, I feel that they do affect. And for me, I can see a person's game and see how they're humiliating their opponent. And those are players I do not like in a certain way. I'm not saying you should not beat your opponent or not thrash them. You thrash them, but there's a way of doing it. So, yeah, these are small points that, I've observed players. And as an arbiter now, it's like I can observe a lot when I'm arbitrating. And especially kids, I feel bad for so many kids because, the same kids will grow up, with the same core qualities in them. And that's not going to help them later. So, if their coaches or whoever teaching them can do a good job of, getting them to the ground, get you to the ground and, stay grounded, then that will help. So, yeah, just a few instances I just remembered, so I brought up.
Yeah, I love that because if I see my game and the way you talked about it, I remember I was that player in the start. Okay, when I matured, when I got the rating and everything, that's when I was like, now there is time pressure which will come in and all of that. And that's when I started, like, first I was this person who was like, I will take every piece on your board and I will checkmate you. I was that person. And then I was like, now I'll focus on the checkmate. You want to make your queen from that side, you can do it. I will focus on this checkmate that's happening on the king side. And that's how I matured. So I thank you for bringing this because I never really reflected on this part of it. And yeah, and also now first I asked you the learnings of it.
But Anish, one thing I want to add here. I'm not saying that we should not really trash our opponent, okay? I am very brutal on the board. I'll tell you why. I'm a person who loves Capablancas and Karpov's games. And you know what Karpov is. You never realize this. If you remember Karpov and Tal, right? If you remember them, do you remember them, Anish?
I remember Tal.
Mikhail Tal is completely attacking player. Karpov is a positional player. He'll beat you positionally. If you just look at the attacking players, right? We feel that they're very aggressive. They are aggressive. But they are it's like just slitting your opponent's throat and killing them. They don't feel the pain. But a positional player is the one who will torture you, and then win the game. And I'm that kind of player. I'm a positional player. I will torture you on the board. As like your pieces cannot move, I'll be okay. I'm going to take another square of yours. I'm not going to attack. One more square. It's like pushing the person in the corner. I'm that player. But even then, there should be respect to your opponent. That's all. Yeah. I'm not saying that you do not beat your opponent in a way. No, you attack. You want to be brutal on the board. Do it. But at the end, we should be respecting our opponents, right? We should not be humiliating them. So that's the only thing I meant. While ending the game, we should show respect. That's it. Yeah. Like that's why we shake hand before the game and after the game, right? For mutual respect.
I love that. Yeah.
So yeah. So it should remain. That's what I feel.
Because I was the opposite on the start, and then I became this player. In the start, I was that person who, even if there was a checkmate coming, I would be like, no, I'm going to capture all your pawns. I'm going to capture that knight which is stuck over there also. So I used to do that when I was a kid because at that time I had this thing that I want to win properly.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I mean, everyone's different at this. Like you may have captured, somebody else will not capture. For example, I did not capture. I probably have always been the calmer kid. But it does not mean that I'm better than you in that aspect. We change, and as kids, it's fine that original, however you are, will show, and that should show. Because if your originality doesn't show on the board or any sport, how are you going to be the best? How are you going to improve? Right? That has to come out. If you're going to keep it inside, then you're kind of playing somebody else's game, and then you're not going to improve. So
that's happened with me though. So yeah, I was trying to copy different players and stuff like that. So that used to mess up because then another move would come in and I didn't know how to tackle that move. So yeah. So first I asked you the learnings from chess. Now I'm asking you the impact that chess has had on your life. Like the traits it has given you. One is you've learned from it. You've got these. You've understood how it relates to life. Now I'm asking you the impact. What has it made you as a person?
As a person, I think um I don't know honestly, Alish. I think somebody else should answer this question if it's about me. Somebody else should be able to tell me, how I am as a person. Like because it's relating to myself. But I think it has affected me positively for sure. Definitely it affected me positively. But how do I answer this question? That
I'll tell you like my perspective on this because like the way it has affected me is it has made me more calm firstly because of the
definitely.
I was never I used to play bullet games. I used to play 5 minute
Got
games
it.
or bullet games. So I was this very instantaneous, spontaneous kid. Like I wanted to do like a lot of things, and then like that. Yeah, that's
Oh,
what.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then it
So,
made me sit for like long hours and stuff like that.
okay. In that way, right? Okay, continue, continue. Then something came to mind. Continue.
Yeah. So that was one thing that it brought to my life. It brought that calmness to my life. As I matured as a player, it brought that calmness into my life. Also, it made me understand and analyze people, not to judge them, but
Yeah.
to understand how they are as a person and how they could potentially be either like a good thing for my life or a bad thing for my life. Yeah. So that was
Yeah. I think
yeah.
something like we spoke about earlier, but the checkmating stuff is kind of similar to, yeah, it's not for judgment, it's just for your own, how it's going to help you. Yeah. So if I'm going to consider that way, about calmness, I've always been super calm, like never been naughty, so I didn't have that problem. Uh, I would say that as I mentioned earlier, I was a very cautious kid. I learned to take some risks, which I've already mentioned earlier. Like making choices. Yes, this is something I've always faced a problem in life is making choices. How do I make a choice? And on the board, you have to make a choice. You don't have. You have to.
Yeah,
The
it's your
time is ticking. Time is ticking. And there are times I've lost numerous number of games in my life. Like I'm sure I could have gone much higher if I just solved this basic problem of making choices basically. So the point is, I'm having let's say 30 minutes on the clock. I'm unable to make a choice. Shall I make this move? Shall I make this move? I don't know. I bring it down to 1 minute. It has happened to me, I don't know, in more than 100 games. It comes to 1 minute, it comes to 30 seconds, and then I don't have a choice. And then I don't have a choice, then you make a choice. The point is, I should not be waiting for it to come down to force myself to make a choice. I should be able to make a choice in general, right? So yes, choices. I think that it's definitely helping me with making choices. It kind of shows you that time is limited in life. You have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. You can't
I
do
love
anything
that.
about it.
I love that.
And another thing is, I've always been, and I am the person who plays even chess with instincts. Basically, if I feel, it's like a feel. I feel it. Like I play it. It looks good to me. So I'm kind of lazy on the board. I'm not lazy as a normal in general, but somehow on the board I'm lazy. I don't want to calculate. So I'm like, I don't want to calculate this move, but I kind of analyze the position. My pieces are placed well, everything is well. It will be good. I go with it. So with the feel. And there are players like that with instincts basically, like Karpov and Capablanca. I always looked up to them as players. Capablanca was always a player since childhood, my favorite player. So probably I developed it, because I liked him and I saw his games. But whatever it may be, the quality is developed, right? And I used to not calculate, never. But my judgments were really good on the board, not off the board. Off the board, they were terrible. On the board, they were good. So my judgment on the board was good. Okay, I know, like even I'm going to an endgame, I don't have time on the clock. So I was a player who always came on time pressure. And
Always.
I
Yeah,
was
same. As I matured, I always came on time pressure.
exactly. And the reason I could survive is because my endgame skills were good. I had really good endgame skills, at least what everybody told me. Like I would not survive without that. So endgame skills and time pressure was not a problem because when I learned endgames, Capablanca was my peers. I learned so much endgames. So it's like did not it affected definitely, but still I was able to get or achieve a little more because of that. So yeah, but I was very lazy. So calculations I think has definitely taught me I need to calculate, should not be lazy. That's one thing.
I love
Two,
that.
three
I love
things should be more than enough.
that. I love that. And also, I will tell you a negative thing that happened to me through chess.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
I will ask your take on this. So I was a person, like you said, you were not a very calculative person. I started developing the calculative thinking. I was not a very calculative person in the start because I was just like I was just rushing. I would exchange the things and I would take it to endgame because my endgame was strong. Okay, I was that kind of a person. But later on, I started becoming a positional person, like you told me. Okay, so in that positional person, you have to calculate a lot because you have to calculate the other person's moves also. So I would think 5-6 moves in front, not too much, but 5-6 moves in front. And the thing that I noticed very recently, okay, in the last 1 week, I noticed this. I was having a conversation with a chess player only, and he was talking to me about overthinking. I was like, did this come to us through chess? And we were discussing about this. Okay, my question for this is like, number one, has it happened with you? And if yes, how did you cope with it? And if not happened, then also like how do you cope with it?
Overthinking, right?
Through it
Uh,
mostly happened through chess. I'm not very sure.
I actually did not analyze it till you mentioned, but I can see the connection of overthinking and decision making that I mentioned earlier. I'm not able to make a decision because I'm overthinking, and I'll tell you why I was not able to make a decision. I used to calculate, even in general, while making moves, I have the habit of being too cautious. So I will calculate the line 5 times, three times, 4 times, 5 times. If I'm not sure, even more than that. So when you keep doing it again and again, it means you're not really confident and you're basically overthinking it, right? As you mentioned. So I think decision making and overthinking are actually connected, according to me. If you're not overthinking, you will not have a problem making decisions, right? And if you're making decisions quickly, you're not overthinking. It's that simple. They're definitely connected. If you can make decisions faster, you won't be overthinking. Yeah, should be.
How does someone cope with it? If someone is already an overthinker or something like that. Or how have you coped with that whole thing? Because you said you were
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, one more thing. What chess has taught me and has impacted, you learn to take losses in life. I think any sport, including chess, you learn to take a loss. And usually, kids who are not into a sport, right? Whatever I have noticed and whatever I've read online, research, they find it difficult to take a loss in life, to take a rejection in life. It's difficult. But since we have played chess, we have lost 100 games. It's a bit easier for us to take it. You learn to take a loss. You know that you can try your best and you can still lose, and you take it. You go home, you analyze the game, you see where you made a mistake, and if you didn't make any mistakes, if your opponent simply outplayed you, you're like, okay, you have to accept that the opponent was better than you that particular day. That's it. You have to sleep it out. I think we learn to accept things in life, which is really important. So I think every kid should take up any sport, not necessarily chess. Any sport will teach you to take losses. I think that is one very important thing that it has taught me. You take a loss. Very, very important.
Yeah. And coming back to the question.
What was the question? I forgot.
The overthinking, how do you cope with it?
The overthinking. Yeah, exactly. Actually, I brought up this point for the overthinking. So the point is about if to take the loss. I know it's still difficult. It's not that you just can end up losing and you're just fine with it. But not thinking about the consequences. I think it's a very slow process, and it doesn't happen in one night, right? It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But for me, basically now, I'm working on it, and you have to just be a lot more freer. So basically, what you should be having in your mind is, I don't care what happens to the game. I'm giving my best. And there are other few things which actually Anurag also advised to me while playing. I still remember, this was before COVID. He was like, whatever happens, just make the move. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, just make it. You have to have the confidence of making the move. Whatever the result is later, it does not matter. You lose, you lose. But you become faster at decision making and you start being confident with your decisions. If they're wrong, they're wrong. It doesn't matter. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
So you have to just be quicker. That's it. If you're just quicker, you're like, it's fine. Whatever it is, I will bear with it. They're my decisions. The point is, if I'm going to make a decision or not going to make a decision, both are going to affect me negatively. Either I come on time pressure or I make a blunder on the board. Instead of coming on time pressure and let's say that you're there sitting for 4 hours and playing the game and going home sad, instead of that you lose in 1 hour and spend the other 2 hours watching a movie. I'm just saying. So that is one thing that I'm still coping with it, Nish. So let's say Now the next tournament I play, I've not played now for 3 years because of COVID. This year I did not get a chance to play. When they started this year, I started playing a couple of months back. Tournaments started getting organized. So I don't know. Now I'm 1900 right now. I know I'll have the fear when I play the tournament that my rating will go to 1800. I know that fear will be there. But as long as I can just go there and say whatever happens, it's all right. I mean, I can obviously increase the rating later if I have the strength. I can increase it later, right?
Obviously, yeah.
It's not about what people think of me. And a lot of times we have this in mind, what will they think of me? You know, that I reduced my rating. There are lots of thoughts, especially what people think of you. I think that has troubled me a lot in my life, chess and not in chess. It's like, oh, I become a 1700. I'm just saying for myself. Now, for everybody, it's a different rating, right? For me, it's 1900, 1700. For somebody else, for a 2200, it will be like, I reached 2000. What will people think of me? I mean, it's different for everybody, right? For you, if now, for example, if you reach 1200, you'll be like, oh my god, I reached 1200. You know, you get the point, right?
Yeah.
So it's different for everybody, but the message is the same, right? We all have that fear. So yeah, it's like, I think slowly in the past few years, I've learned to not care about what people think. And hopefully, in the next tournament I play, I do not care about the results. And I can just go and just be free. Because I've learned one thing, that whenever I've played with a free mind, I've done better. When I've not really overthought, I've had great results. Just because I'm free. Because I didn't have any expectations, Adish. It's like you play the free mind and you go like, I don't have expectations. I just want to enjoy. You know, I should be happy with my game. And whenever I've done this, I'm happy with my game. I lost, I don't care. I played a beautiful game. You go with this, right? It's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll take 2 points from here. One was the part where you said, the part where you talked about it's a slow journey. And that is what I want to emphasize on, because slowly is the fastest way to getting to where you want to.
That's true. And get and stay there. Get and stay there.
Because, and also like you said just now, it's not about only making it. It's also about, it's more about maintaining it.
Yeah.
Because that's how it's supposed to be. That was one point which I picked up, and the second point, it went out of my mind. What were you talking about?
You're talking to somebody whose memory is really bad after being a chess player. Let me think. What we were talking about, I forgot the topic. We're talking about overthinking, right? Overthinking, decision making.
The recent part which you were talking about, I forgot that part.
How to overcome overthinking, right? I said just make a decision and you have to accept whatever comes to your way. Oh yeah, you learn to take losses. You learn to take losses. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. The part, wait again.
You learn to take losses, right?
No, before that. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I got it. So the second thing that I picked up was the part where you talked about when you had expectations, or when your eye was on the result, you could not completely focus on the game. You could not completely give your best, and that is what it happens. That is what happens, because when your mind is on the prize, you now can't fully focus over here. Like if you have two eyes and you're focusing on the book or something, but your one eye is somewhere else, obviously you can't focus on it. So I love these 2 points, because right now while I'm doing the podcast, I'm not thinking about how many views will this video get or something like that. Because when I think about it, I will react in a much different way on this podcast, because I will say stuff in a way that I want people to see about me, and that's not how I'm like right now. I'm very much in the moment. I'm literally enjoying every part of this. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
I was reading a stat where 30% of Indian women have accepted to be abused by husband or family. So this could be any sort of, you get the point. Only 30% have accepted. You know that the percentage will be way higher considering the societal norms, because you can't go back home, right, if you accept it.
So proud of you, firstly, for bringing this up. Like, it was so much for me to take in, as like sitting on this side of it. So I can barely imagine, like, and some people be like, I understand what your pain is. I don't. I have never gone through something that brutal. So I don't understand it, but all I can do is empathize and probably try to understand. That's